The story began a month ago. The main character, Hyun-soo, is a sunny boy. He was bullied by his classmates for handing them 2 coins. His life was plunged into a bottomless pit. All his friends were threatened. They can't say a word to him. His father was fired from his school's company. The whole family was mean to Hyun-soo. He was so depressed that he tried to commit suicide. A recent accident took away his parents and sister. The only thing he had left was 30 million won. This was a disaster for the self-destructive Hyun-soo. In order to make ends meet, Hyun-soo walked towards an old neighborhood that was about to be demolished, holding a monitor in his eyes. Suddenly, the security guard's whacker almost sent him away. This series of events caused his heart to rebound. He climbed up to the roof and looked at the not-so-clear sky, and took a step forward. Meanwhile, the security guard downstairs was once again scolded by his boss. An elderly resident comforted him, and gave him a box of fish. The woman's eyes seemed to have a deeper meaning. The security guard opened the box. The box was full of flies and smelly fish. At the same time, the security guard started to have a nosebleed. Hyun-soo is about to jump off the building. Hyun-soo was frozen in place by the beautiful posture of a ballet girl nearby. Suddenly, the girl stepped on the gum and asked Hyun-soo if he spit on it. Hyun-soo said no. As he was about to leave, the girl told him, "Don't die here, go somewhere else. If you want to die, die far away, or you'll cause trouble for everyone." Hyun-soo went back to his place, but he found the security guard lying in front of his house. He seems to be spying on something. Hyun-soo closed the door in fear, and the security guard was still watching him through the cat's eye. Luckily, the neighboring tenants attracted the security guard's attention. The next day, Hyun-soo received a message from the courier. The security guard couldn't find it, so he left the noodles at the door. Hyun-soo opened the door and found his delivery scattered all over the place. He followed the trail and walked slowly to the neighboring tenant's door. The scene in front of him took his breath away. He ran back to his room, but he didn't expect the girl next door to come to his door. She panicked and asked for help, saying that her cat was missing. There was blood all over the floor. Hyun-soo promised to call the police through the video phone, but the caller couldn't get through. Hyun-soo remembered the scene and asked to see the girl's hand, but the girl started to have a nosebleed, and slammed the door frantically. Suddenly, a bass sound comes from upstairs and the mutated girl is attracted away. Hyun-soo was uneasy and grabbed his improvised weapon, and left the house, but he ran into Scar and fainted before he could say a word. The mutated girl has turned into a monster. She frantically demanded that the bassist, B.E., open the door and started to smash it. Bev was so scared that he took out a baseball bat to defend himself. There was no movement outside the door. Scar heard the sound and checked the situation. The monster should have jumped out of the window and escaped. Then he turned around and punched the door. She wasn't knocking, she was banging on the door. At this time, the residents of the building gathered on the first floor. They found that all the passageways had been locked on purpose. As a firefighter, Xiao Mei called for help but couldn't get through. His intuition told him that it might not be that simple. At that moment, the owner of the supermarket found the switch of the roller shutter door. As the door opened, a slender man stood outside. The man with glasses realized that something was wrong, and asked the owner to close the door, but it's too late. The monster rushes in and sucks an innocent man into a dry body. When the monster was about to attack the others, the man with the glasses aimed a fire extinguisher at the monster. Obviously it worked, but the fire extinguisher was soon used up. The monster was about to come in again. Suddenly, a figure knocked the monster out of the way. It turned out to be Mei, a firefighter. When the monster fell to the ground, Mr. Glasses hurriedly pulled Mei back. The monster also withdrew its long tongue, and slowly left the area. Only then did they realize that the outside world had become a living hell. Hyun-soo woke up early, and opened the curtains. He realized that there was smoke all around him, like the end of the world. Countless crows in the sky seemed to be trying to avoid something. He started to get a nosebleed himself. That's right, he's going to mutate. When he woke up again, he was in Xiao B's room. The internet is full of stories about monsters bleeding, and the girl who snapped at Hyun-soo suddenly broke her ankle, and fell to the ground in the stairwell. When she saw Scar passing by, she pretended to play with her cell phone. At that moment, a female monster in red suddenly appeared behind her and pounced on Scar. She bit Scar's shoulder. Scar directly threw the monster out. the monster rushed again. Scar held the monster at bay. He finally saw that this is the woman in red, who madly smashed Xiaobi's room. Scar's strength soared and he kicked the monster to death. Meanwhile, Bev was on his way downstairs, when he found a frustrated man blaming himself. Bev's careful descent still attracted the man's attention. He rushed at Bev with a nosebleed, and was knocked to the ground by Bev's blow. But as soon as he turned around, the knocked-out man turned into a monster. Luckily, the priest was able to cut off half of the monster's head in time. He took Xiao Bei, and escaped from the scene, and the monster got up again, and turned into a big-eared monster with sensitive hearing. At that moment, the residents on the first floor were arguing about escaping. The sudden sound of the door opening made the tenants back away. Scar walks out of the door but is stunned by the supermarket owner's claim that he will be bitten and mutated. The supermarket owner tried to kill Scar before he could mutate, but he was knocked out by Scar. At that moment, Hyun-soo suddenly got hungry. He remembered the torn-up box of instant noodles at the door. He opened the door slowly and bravely. The big-eared monster followed the sound, and came in. Hyun-soo tried not to make a sound. At that moment, the glasses man's cry for help came from the speaker. The monster's hand reached several meters out of nowhere and destroyed the speaker. Hyun-soo knew he couldn't fight the monster on his own. He could only wait for the monster to leave. Luckily, the monster left without any danger. The priest and BE have also arrived at the 8th floor. They are cautiously going down. Suddenly, Bev heard voices coming from the room. Bev opened the door and found a man wrapped in duct tape. The priest suddenly remembered the tape that Scar dropped. When he passed by Scar, he couldn't help but be a little more wary. The man looked at the weapons in the hands of the two men and turned around, and went back to his room to get a hammer. His eyes wandered and he said he wanted to join them. Upstairs, Hyun-soo is looking at his cell phone. Today is the date he decided to kill himself. Just opened the window and saw a father looking for supplies for his son and daughter. He was trying to use a zip line to get down to the ground. Suddenly, a big-eyed monster appeared and the father fell down from the building. The monster was about to attack the siblings. Despite the danger, Hyun-soo smashed his monitor on the monster, but he was entangled by the big-eyed monster, and was about to lose his grip. Suddenly, it was the old man next door who saved him. The old man used a drawing board to remind him not to make a sound, and put his cell phone on talk mode. If a monster comes near, hell make noise. In order to save the siblings, Hyun-soo went to the old man's room. The old man was a lieutenant in the army, and had to retire because of his disability, but he hasn't lost his talent. Now, if you give him the materials, he can make even a tank for you. The old man upgraded Hyun-soo's weapon to a lightning sword. There are only 3 bullets in that gun. One was sent to the monster with the big eyes, another to fight back when the monsters invade. The last one was for himself, so he couldn't lend it to Hyun-soo. So Hyun-soo had to go downstairs with the lightning knife. He ran into the big ears again on the lower floor. He hid in the elevator. That's where the security guard dumped the stinky fish. Hyun-soo stabbed the monster when it was about to enter the elevator. He quickly ran to the opposite side of the building, but he didn't realize that the Ulula's hand was extended by 10 meters. It almost pierced Hyun-soo. It seems that simply running away is not an option. Hyun-soo grabbed a bouncing ball, and disrupted the Ulula's position. He took advantage of the gap and stabbed the second time, until he electrocuted the Ululu. He reached the 12th floor without incident. For the children's safety, Hyun-soo took them to the old man's place, but as soon as they reached the entrance, their noses started to bleed. To protect the kids, he yelled at them to go to the old man and close the door. At that moment, another personality appeared in Hyun-soo's head, compelling him to resist. As images of himself being brutalized flashed in his mind, he's going to mutate. This man is on the street. Passers-by disappear in front of him one by one. The evil side of the mirror compels the man to unleash his inner demons. The call of a child brings him back to reality, but he was suddenly crushed under the door. Behind the door, an explosive, muscular beast appeared, and opened its mouth towards the child. Seeing the muscle monster approaching the siblings, the mutated Hyun-soo hugged the monster just in time. He told the kids to run and took the monster's blow in silence. In the nick of time, a priest arriving at the scene slashed the muscle monster. The two of them hurriedly dragged Hyun-soo away, and the secret of his mutation was discovered, but he's still asking if the child is safe. BE was about to hit him when he saw it. The priest stopped him just in time. He said it might be God's will. Meanwhile, Firefighter May found the main power switch in the basement, and finally got power to the building, but on the way back, she was suddenly dragged into the depths by the monster, and the residents were all glued to their TV sets watching the president make his announcement. They didn't expect to see a mutation in a few moments, and they screamed that they were all going to die. The soldiers killed the mutated president, and the scene came to an abrupt halt. This sudden change caused the residents to become agitated. On the other side of the room, the sister grabbed her frightened brother and ran upstairs. Suddenly the door in front of her opened and the monster appeared in front of her. Sister remembered that Hyun-soo had told them to try not to make a sound when they met the monster. Sister protects her brother. The younger brother held back his tears and didn't move. When the monster was about to leave, the muscular beast appeared behind him. The big ears followed the sound and attacked. The two of them took advantage of the lull and ran away. The two monsters fought each other. The Dalek was defeated and thrown out of the window. The sister and brother knocked on the door for help, but there was no answer. Then the muscle beast came after them again. The sister held her brother tightly and closed her eyes, waiting for death. As the beast approached, the aunt who had lost her daughter approached with her stroller. The aunt told the beast not to hurt the children, but she was knocked to the ground. In a trance, she saw her own child. The stroller was crushed in front of her. Auntie suddenly transformed, and pounced on the muscle beast with her fingers clasped tightly inside. The monster was in pain, but there was nothing she could do. At that moment, Hyun-soo escorted the child out. Bev hit the monster in the crotch. The priest also joined the fight. Auntie was thrown to the ground. It seems that force is not an option. The priest used his taunting skill to get the attention of the muscle beast. He leads him all the way to the end of the corridor, and starts to build up his strength. Auntie also recovered from the mutation, so Bev dropped her guard. They all came to the old man's place. Xiao Mei was hanging from the roof with cobwebs. She could see the figure of the security guard. This scene was seen by the man with glasses in the surveillance room. He hid the news of Xiaomi's arrest from everyone, and the supermarket owner locked up the supermarket. In such an apocalyptic situation, if you want to get food, you have to pay for it. The man with the glasses suddenly appeared with a box of food to hand out to the residents. The woman with the dog found blood in the box and refused his offer. Another woman opened the door while the man with the glasses was broadcasting, because his cell phone's location shows that his daughter is moving this way. She wanted to save her daughter. Soon after, her daughter really came running, but none of the tenants went out to help her because they were afraid of the monster. Brother Soldier rushed up to save the child, but he was killed by the monster on the spot. The woman was trapped in a spider's web. The situation was critical. The spider monster crawled over to her, and with a single stroke of its scythe, the web was empty. It turns out that Miao escaped into the air ducts without a hitch. I have to say, this perfect body is really great. The spider monster came after her. Its scythe-like claws pierced through the ventilation duct. The vent in front of her stopped the spider monster in its tracks. Xiao Mei hurriedly entered the vent and held herself up to avoid the spider monster's pursuit. Then she kicked the vent under her feet, and was about to jump down, but she didn't realize that the spider monster was coming right at her. The spider's web wrapped around her. Ignoring the pain, she kicked the glass with her inertia. She grabbed the pieces of glass and finally cut through the web, and fell down. At that moment, a call from her husband came from the cell phone she had dropped. Nowadays, when the communication network is paralyzed, you can still receive calls. It was unbelievable to Xiao Mei. The first thing she did when she escaped was to punch the man with glasses, because he knew there were monsters down there, but he didn't do anything to help. This is what he deserved. At this moment, the TV is broadcasting an emergency message. Starting tonight, the whole country is in a state of lockdown and the military has taken over everything. The military has identified these signs of transformation into unidentified creatures, but the exact cause is still unknown. It's likely that human desire is the cause of the transformation. Anyone with a drop in body temperature, nosebleeds, fainting, hallucinations, or hearing loss is considered infected and should be quarantined immediately. These unidentified creatures have a perverse ability to regenerate. However, before the transformation of these unidentified creatures, it is impossible to recover from severe physical injuries. This is the only way to deal with these creatures. The military calls it the golden hour. At this point, the old man, the priest and Bev decided to go to the first floor for support. After saying goodbye to the old man, they found a recently dead man in the hallway. Nowadays, Food is scarce in this apocalyptic world. Bee gave the food from the corpse to Hyun-soo. Hyun-soo is now officially a member of the gang, but just as he turned to go downstairs, a monster appeared in the dark. It knocked Hyun-soo off the building, and landed him in front of a girl. The girl is the sister of the man with glasses. It only took 3 hours for Hyun-soo to wake up. It was his mutated body that saved him. Everyone knew that Hyun-soo was infected, especially the supermarket owner. He took out a knife and tried to kill him. To be fair, the man with the glasses suggested a vote to decide whether Hyun-soo should stay or go. The girl was the first to object. Don't look at her like she's depressed. In fact, she's not a bad person at heart. The result of the vote was a tie. The owner of the supermarket went into a frenzy and yelled at everyone, "I didn't expect retribution to come so quickly." The selfish supermarket owner also had a nosebleed. He and Hyun-soo are locked up in a separate room. That creepy guy was laughing and biting his finger when he found out that Scar wasn't dead, but he didn't realize that Scar was right in front of him. He was beaten up and knew he was no match for Scar. He slammed Scar against the wall and ran to the crowd, telling them that he was infected too. He was isolated in front of Scar. Scar actually got the key of the lewd man just now. This key is the key to reveal the real face of the creep. On the 14th floor, my sister told the old man, "Auntie has been in the toilet for an hour and hasn't come out." The old man felt bad, and slowly opened the toilet door with his homemade walking stick gun.